All right, little impeachment update. This was a bit of a problem yesterday for the White House. It's unclear at this point. We don't know. And I suspect, however, that well, let me put it this way. We don't know, but I suspect we might know who the original whistleblower spoke to. Remember, the original whistleblower filed their whistleblower complaint. They're from the CIA. They were talking to a wide range of people who were all expressing discomfort with what was going on with the relationship with Ukraine, with this sort of like outside group of people who were involved in it. Sunderland, who was the EU ambassador, Rudy Giuliani, who was Donald Trump's free personal lawyer, and others. And the CIA agent wrote up the whistleblower complaint. Now, they know who the whistleblower is on this committee. Apparently, Devin Nunes keeps trying to leak it in such a way. He can't find anybody who lacks the integrity to print it yet, but they will. They will. It'll end up being somebody like what they desperately don't want is to have to give it to someone like Mike Cernovich. But I guarantee you, when this gets leaked, we will trace it back, and it will be a Mike Cernovich figure who has gotten this stuff and then puts it into the bloodstream. That's the way they do this. That nobody wants their fingerprints on it. And so until they find somebody unscrupulous like that, they can't start attacking the whistleblower. But the whistleblower is largely irrelevant because the whistleblower just basically said, there are X number of individuals who I've spoken to who expressed reservations or problems with what went on. I suspect that we know who those people are already, even though we don't know who they are. In other words, it could be Vindeman, this Lieutenant Colonel Alex S. Vindeman, who is the top Ukraine expert on the National Security Council. He could have been one of those guys. We don't know. But the Intelligence Committee has a list of people they want to interview about this. And they must have got the list from somebody. And so I suspect this is where they started with the whistleblower list. Now, who knows? So in some respects, all of these people are whistleblowers, not official. But they were blowing the whistle to someone who said, I'm going to do the official complaint. So Vindeman apparently, like I said, was the top Ukraine expert on the National Security Council. He was born in Ukraine when it was part of the Soviet Union. I guess he was part of the exodus of Soviet Jews who left, 35 years ago, 40 years ago. I know a couple of people like that. And on Tuesday, he told House impeachment investigators that the so-called transcript of the call between Trump and Zelensky was missing some very important words and phrases. And everyone sort of suspected this because of the ellipses that were there.
It's the private part of the conversation.
He attempted to include them. So basically what happens is this. They do a voice recognition in real time. I don't know why they don't do a recording. Supposedly they don't. It seems a little weird to me. But they do voice recognition in real time, and the computer spits out a transcript. But if you look at our show on YouTube, you can see that this is not always accurate. So what happens is the people who were listened on the call, various people, he was one of them, review the transcript, make corrections and whatnot. By the time they got the transcript, certain things had been omitted. And he was like, what? So
all because they didn't know that I had a transcript done by very, very talented people, word for word, comma for comma, done by people that do it for a living. We had an exact transcript.
Yeah. You know, the thing is that whenever he hits these things, you know, it's like his big tell about a lie. Like, we had a totally detailed transcript, which of course means that we had a totally fixed transcript. So Vindman said, and this is the guy that the right-wingers would have you believe we can't trust because he was born in Ukraine. Vindman said the omissions included Mr. Trump's assertion that there were recordings of former Vice President Joe Biden discussing Ukraine corruption and an explicit mention by Ukraine's President Zelensky of Burisma Holdings, the energy company whose board employed Biden's son, Hunter. Vindman told House impeachment instigators that he tried to change the reconstructed transcript made by the White House staff to reflect the omissions, but while some of his edits appeared to have been successful, he said those two corrections were not made. He did not testify as to the motives. He just testified as to the facts as he saw them. Apparently, after the call, the colonel reported to what happened to his superior, explaining that I did not think it was proper to demand that a foreign government investigate a U.S. citizen, and I was worried about the implications for the U.S. government's support of Ukraine. In other words, this was a quid pro quo, and they were demanding something that if they didn't get, the U.S. government would withdraw support from Ukraine because they were literally holding back the money. And this is all in his opening remarks. He added this would undermine U.S. national security. He also described confronting Gordon Sondland, who was the U.S. ambassador to the EU and a hotelier who donated $1 million to Donald Trump's inauguration after the envoy pressed Ukrainian officials to help the Trump administration by investigating the Biden family. Now, here's the thing. We're going to hear all of this. We're going to get all of it. And it's going to be put out once they start with the official impeachment inquiry. Right now, what they're doing is they're still taking depositions. Today, the State Department Ukraine expert, Catherine Croft, will be coming in to testify. They also intend to depose State Department Ukraine expert Christopher Anderson on October 30th. The acting Assistant Secretary for International Security Affairs, because they're all, Catherine Wheelbarger is not sure she's going to come in. On Thursday, Timothy Morrison, who was mentioned, in the text messages that we read originally 3 or 4 weeks ago. He is the National Security Council's Russia and Europe director. There's going to be Robert Blair, senior advisor to acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, is going to come in. There's a bunch of other people coming in, and what they're doing is they're covering every aspect of this. They're trying to determine, get people deposed and have them tell, what is the TikTok on how the money was held up? Where did the order to hold the money up come from? What was the reason given to hold up the money? And I suspect some of these other people who are Ukraine experts who probably were in the room on the call or can give background as to the importance of this money to Ukraine's security and how that relates to our national security. They're just building the entire case. And if they're smart in the Democratic caucus, that's an if, an important if, they have some trial lawyers who are sitting down and saying, this is how we're going to present this to the American public. We're going to build this case brick by brick. We have very big bricks. They are very sturdy. They are very wide. And we are going to build this case and we're going to show the American public it. So in the coming weeks, I would guess after Thanksgiving, we're going to start to see public hearings. Now, they want to vote on this before the December break and Christmas. I don't see how they're going to do that. Maybe they'll do a whole week. If they do it all in 1 week, we may just do all our coverage of that. I have a feeling they're not going to be able to do it that quickly. But apparently they don't want to. They don't want to distract from the Iowa caucuses. I think that's stupid. It's a perfect companion piece. Dominate the news. Iowa caucuses, impeachment. No room for Donald Trump to do whatever insanity he's going to do as a way of, no story about PG&E hiring too many ethnic minorities.
You got so many fires because you have black firemen, and I can say that because I'm married to a man.
There you go.
It's pretty easy to call me racist for saying that trans Indonesian people are causing LA's fires. But then, we look around. Oh, whoa, wait a second. I'm married to a man.
What, you don't want to have a conversation?
I'm against the death penalty. So, the Democrats are going to vote, I believe, in the next 2 days. I think it's on Thursday. The vote comes from a resolution which reaffirms their impeachment inquiry. It will enable public hearings. It will release the witness interviews that have already been taken by the House committees. So everything that is being said now, we're going to have access to. And it will allow the president and his attorneys to cross-examine these witnesses, which should be funny. The resolution states that after the inquiry phase is over, the investigating committees will send their findings to the House Judiciary Committee, which will determine whether to recommend articles of impeachment. Now, the four House committee chairs, Government Oversight, Intel, Judiciary, and I think it's Financial Services, say that they've already collected, the information they've already collected paints the picture of a president who has abused his power by using multiple levers of government to press a foreign country to interfere in the 2020 election. Following in the footsteps of the previous impeachment inquiries, the next phase will move from closed depositions to open hearings where the American people will learn firsthand about the president's misconduct. Apparently, in the Nixon impeachment, they did this depositions in the Senate. Then it went back to the House, and that's when it got public. And then it went back to the Senate for, or would have, for the conviction. Liz Cheney has a problem with it. Who cares? And so that's what's going to happen. It's moving forward. There are no more arguments for the Republicans. They're now saying that, like, well, because some of these depositions were taken in private, even though we're going to see them publicly, and even though the president will have the opportunity to cross-examine these witnesses, poison tree, poison fruit, yada, yada, yada.